We're doing always.
Oh, Hashem.
Give it some chance.
No. Shkat.
Sorry, but
Blintzes. Huh?
sorry for the phone tag with
Oh, say
I
that.
have this phone. I talk with the text.
Now that you got the...
So, so I have to call people up to talk to people.
Okay. Pedek Yud Beis. I'm sorry. The last Pedek in Iggeres HaKodesh is not Pedek Yud Beis. I'm sorry, Iggeres HaTeshuvah.
He's like this. Why you have to be happy when you have the sick?
Pedek Yud Beis, yeah.
You want water?
Yeah, shkat. So it's interesting that the Alter Rebbe split, but okay. Pedek Yud Beis. Nitama Simcha B'Yisurei Aguf. The Alter Rebbe is being moisif to what we learned last week, which is the Alter Rebbe said that he has to be b'simcha. That he has to be b'simcha. No, it helps for several reasons. When Al Bichatosi Negdi Tomid, Negdi means Meirachuk, and through that, number one, it'll help him to be Ashfal Ruach, and number two, it'll help him be b'simcha Adarabe, because anything that'll happen to him will always be b'simcha. It's a good thing. So the Alter Rebbe is now going to mention about the Ramban, Bagdoma, Lepidush, Iyuv. What's the story of Iyuv? Iyuv is a very long sefer. Iyuv is from the first three Kisvei Kodesh, which is Tehillim Mishlei Iyuv. If it's probably the third sefer. You see, it's a Mishlei Iyuv. Tehillim Mishlei Iyuv. Iyuv is a very long sefer. But then what happened with Iyuv is that Torah says there was a man that was it's really long. Iyuv, it's coming compared to Mishnah, the other ones. It's huge. It's a thousand whatever. There was a very rich man, and his name was Iyuv. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He was fabulously rich, and he was Yishir Elikim, the son of Meirah. He had Shivas Alfei Tzoin, Sholish Alfei Gemalim, Chameshes Meis, Semed Boker, Avude Rabba Moed.
Badista.
Huh?
Badista.
Yeah. So the Sultan came, and the Sultan said that to the Eibishter, you think that the Yerei Elokim, it's not true. He's not really Yerei Elokim. It's not a real Yerei Elokim. You're very good to him, and therefore, it looks like he's Yerei. Ato Sakta Ve'ad Beisay Ve'ad Kol Asher Loi. V'ulam Shlachno Yodcho Ve'gaba Kol Asher Loi Im Lo Al Panecha Yivarecheko. So he says to the Eibishter, the Yiras Hashem is not the real Yiras Hashem. The Eibishter says to the Sultan, Hine Kol Asher Loi B'Yodecha Rak Elav Al Tishlach Yodecha. So there's 3 rounds of Nisyonis that he has now.
What caused him to have this?
Oh, all the Gedolei Olam this Iyuv is the most charged sefer. The sefer Iyuv is the most charged sefer. The Gemara says there's the Shit Elohoyev Nivre, Yehoyev Nivre. The Ramban says it's a moshel. Even if it's a moshel, so the Ramban says if he says it's a moshel, so why is the Gemara asked when did he live? Did he live in the days of Avram Avinu or in Achashverosh, or he lived in Tveria? It was a moshel. The answer is Poshet. It doesn't matter if you write a moshel. You have to set the stage correctly. But like at the end of the story, he gets Mikol Echad Ksita V'Nezem Zov. If it's B'mei Avram, we hear Mei Avram paid, and the Yaakov paid for Shechem Mei Ksita. We're hearing things that are in that generation. So you're setting the stage. Even the names, all the funny names there, they all sound pretty good for Avram Avinu's generation. What happens that the Sultan first kills his children. unbelievable things happen to this one and to that one, and all his money and all his wealth, and the shoidim come and the kazdim come, and terrible things are happening to every one of his children. And he says, look, Hashem Nosam, Hashem Loker, Yishem Hashem Avodah. Orem Yitzosim Mibetinim and Orem Oshev Shama. Um, but the Malach says, no. If you push him a little more, you'll see what's going to happen. The Abishah says, okay, you know what? You could do whatever you want. It's his body. You can't kill him. And then all of a sudden he goes out. He
must have done something that allowed all this to come on him. Let's say what? Who knows what?
And at this point, his wife already tells him.
It's like him.
Yeah, or like
Just on the bridge.
yeah. So Vayomer Elok daber achas hanavolos tedaberi games atoiv nekabel meisa lekim ve'esaro loy nekabel. Three friends show up: Eliphaz, Baldad, and Soifar. Very funny names. The only Eliphaz that we know is Esav, right? The son Eliphaz, right?
That's a nice name.
Exactly. So Eliphaz seems to be the smartest. You see, he's the one that speaks first, and he has the most to say. Baldad is the next, and Soifar is the last. And they give him Musa. They speak a lot. I mean, we're talking Iyuv. At this point, we're paid a gimel. They finish giving him Musa that paid a Klamet gimel. So he talks back and forth with them. They say that you must have sinned. And he says, no, that's what the Gemara says, that he said, Yesh Tzadik Veraloi Rosha V'Toivloi. We're not talking the Tanya yet. We're talking, obviously the Tanya is the Pnimius Pshat, but I'm saying he said, Yesh Rosha V'Toivloi. The Eibishter makes it's not fear. Yesh Tzadik Veraloi. Obviously, Tanya has a Pnimius Pshat. What does it mean? Tzadik Veraloi and Rosha V'Toivloi. And it's not different. Anyway, Iyuv has a taina against the Eibishter, and at the end he starts getting fahitz. Once his friends are racing him on, he's starting to plot, and he says things like no, it's not fear, I did nothing wrong. Zachani b'li kosha chafanoichi v'loy oven li. Chaf me pesha. I have nothing. I'm clean. Zachoni b'li fasha chafanoichi v'loy oven li.
Washing snow.
Chaf, clean. Aviva. Yeah. So he starts getting very angry. There's one more character that comes in at this point, which is Elihu. Elihu is a little bit more, soft, but again, they're debating. And all of a sudden, towards the end, after 30 parakim with his friends and another few parakim with Elihu, the Eibishter reveals himself. When the Eibishter reveals himself, he's very humble to the Eibishter. The Eibishter talks to him, and he's very, very humble to the Eibishter. Once the Eibishter talks to him, and sort of the Eibishter says to him, I'm not going to say what the Eibishter said. Like, Shaila is what everyone meant. What did Eliphaz mean, and what did Baldad mean, and what did Sefer mean, and what did Elihu mean, and what was a kasha, and what was a teretz, and this is Soidus Amunah. Pashtus, when Chazal say, well, what did Chazal say? If you're going to say it's a moshel, they say it happened the days of Avraham Avinu. What's the pshat? The pshat is that that predates Matan Torah. That this is a shaila of Gemul ve'oinish. This is a shaila that could concern a goy. That you can learn this with a goy. You can learn this with a goy.
fair enough.
Doesn't Rashi identify Eov as the one who detected the generation of the Canaanim when
Yeah. It says, okay, so there's a lot of shit that's when he lived. That Eov was living, that's why he was a righteous man.
he was
So, but I'm saying if you
he
say
had
that,
to
if you
die
say,
before
right,
they could
but if
go.
you say that it's a marshal and you said it in the days of Avram, you understand the pshat is that this is something that's even before Torah mitzvahs that get given to Klal Yisrael. I'm learning this, I'm preparing for the Shir, and there's a guy working in my house. So he says, Rabbi, you can learn this with me? That's what I say, kick to myself. I said, you ever learn? He's going that want to learn about Yiddishkeit. It's funny. So he shows me he learns every day a shtickle. There's a Breslov guy in Yerushalayim that puts up things for going. And it sounds good. It's Spanish. It sounds good. It sounds good. Whatever it is, it sounds good.
Oh, he's speaking.
He's speaking a YouTube a piece.
Spanish. For
for the goyim. Anyway, but so that's a shot from Iyuv. If we knew you came, we'd have a birthday cake for you. Happy birthday to you. Lange Zisse Joren. So the story of Iyuv is the end that the Eibishter reveals himself. The Eibishter says he's humble to the Eibishter. He humbles himself to the Eibishter. Vayan Iyuv el Hashem. Vayomer Yodati kefel tucha v'lo yibotzer mimcha mezima. And then he says, Nikamti al ofer ve'efer. I regret anything I said, and I'm like dust and earth. So when he humbles himself to the Eibishter very much, and all of a sudden, an unbelievable thing. Vayacher diber Hashem al advarim ha'el al Iyuv vayomer Hashem al Elifaz chor api becho b'shnei re'echa ki lo dibartem elai nechoina ke'av Iyuv. You didn't speak the right words
like Iyuv.
Like Iyuv.
Okay.
What did they say? They justified the Eibishter. It's a very funny thing in the story of Iyuv. These three guys justified the Eibishter. All the Meforshim go through and explain their words very well. The Ramban will talk in a minute in the Hagdama from Pirush Iyuv, and the Alter Rebbe is going to quote the Ramban explains what they said. So he said that how could it be? They said that no, that for Rosh it's Ra and for Tzaddik it's Toy. He said, no, it's not true. I'm a tzaddik. How come bad things are coming to me? And I see the shine, the good things are coming to them. So, like I said, it's like more than 30 broken. But the Ramban sums up a little a chalik of what they're saying. The Ramban says that they said to him like this, that it's not possible that a person should live and not sin. The difference is that the Eibishter wants to do a kindness for the tzaddikim that they suffer by Olam Hazeh. That's it. And the Ramban says, this is the point that the Ramban, the Alter Rebbe quotes, that afilu yisura Iyuv shal shivim shana ein lem erech klal yisura nefesh sho aklas begehenim ki eish, the Gemara says it's echid meshishim. So, in kamus and echus, in quality and quantity, the pain of Gehenim is much more. Because in the Olam Hazeh, the pain is more to the goof. And in Olam Haba, the pain is more to the neshama. Also, the intensity in Olam Hazeh, Eish is Echad Meshishim. And in Olam Haba, it's Shishim Pamim Kocha.
The heat is not
and
strong.
The heat in the Gehenim is much stronger. So in Kamas and its Eichus, it's much more. So therefore, you shouldn't
feel heat. I don't understand. It's not what it's a spiritual thing. It doesn't feel heat, doesn't feel cold. It feels something.
But whatever is heat, the brain feels heat. When the brain gets a message from the veins, what's it called? It feels heat. The finger feels heat. It's a certain message that goes to the brain that says, ouch, not good, bad, 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 terrible, terrible, terrible. The red flashes. So the soul feels it 60 times more, and also it's more Yisur Nefesh, Yisur Yaguf. You see, Bisman Hazeh, a lot of people are being Nesiasek, Yisur Nefesh, not so much Yisur Yaguf. We live in a
That's even worse.
What is it?
The Hainu.
Nebach, the Heine, the Shtetl, nicht gewinnt kein Psychologist, nicht gewinnt kein Psychiatrist, nicht gewinnt Psychotic Medicines, mit geschmeichelt, mit gehad ein bisschen schon, mit gewinnt zufrieden. Und Hein gibt mir neues zweimal a Woche, $600 After reading with a psychologist and a psychiatrist and medicines.
You read a child, so you think that it's not so.
This is it.
Because yeah, it's always seems wrong.
Well, I don't know.
Sleep under the table.
They were a little happier at those going. So, so the pshat is that Yisuri and Nefesh are much more than Yisuri Aguf. So the Yisuri Aguf is much smaller. Yisuri Nefesh is much bigger. You see it by Muchash. People that have Yisuri and Nefesh, it's excruciating pain. People that have Yisuri Aguf, bad.
You walk your hand.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks will be back.
Okay, it's very bad. You can't just say, Yisuri Aguf. But Yisuri and people that are Messiasad, the Yisuri and Nefesh, it's
They're not enough as a dust.
It's terrible, terrible, terrible. It's terrible. Yisur Nefesh is much stronger. So the Alter Rebbe says why? The Alter Rebbe says because the Alter Rebbe says because the Alter Rebbe gives a mushroom. The Alter Rebbe says if you see, we're learning now about the sun moving. How much does the sun have to move in the sky for in this? If you have a sundial, that it should move 1 inch on the sundial. How? The Alter Rebbe says when you move the sundial 1 inch here, you move the sun thousands of miles in the sky. The Tzemach Tzedek says that what's the pshat? What's the pshat? The pshat is like this. The pshat is we say in Olam and Gan Eden the tzaddikim are enjoying Ziva Shechina. What do you mean they're enjoying Ziva Shechina? I mean they're understanding the Eibishter. They are understanding the Eibishter. So in order for them to understand the Eibishter, that's Pinas Gvuris, Lo Yidia Livnei Odom Gvuroisa, Uchevoid Adar Malchusa. In order for people to understand the Eibishter, to get in the Ziva Shechina, it has to be through Gvura, Vitzimtzumim, Lamal Yusa. Otherwise, you're not going to understand. The teacher will come into a kid, first grade, Aleph base, tell you, ooh, Ashagasaya, I learned this morning. Let's do some Malamed test in Shagasaya. This can go to Malamed. Terrible Malamed. Good Malamed is a Gvura. Gvura means to be Metzamtzem. You understand how much the kids can understand. You're giving them that amount with excitement. Pokras velo yoyse. So, yeah.
I'm getting lessons right now. Rabbi Kramer's finished lessons. Laws. You teach first grade.
Pokras velo yoyse.
Laws. We're on the let's get good.
If you let them out of class 1 minute early, it's good. 2 minutes late, it's terrible. Yeah. So therefore, the Gan Eden is based on Gvura. And therefore, Makadishisha, Amana, Shani, Tzad, Gomar, Ava Pishu, Rosh Gamur, Kashinan, Lakidusha, that maybe Shema here, Elo Vada here, but given Vada Mikadeshes, but of course Shema here, it's Shema Mikadeshes. We see that Noelam Haza and also B'Tzad Ra could be the other way also. That in a second, Mashenka in Olam Haba is Olam Akvura. Another Nakud says Tzemach Tzedek. Olam Haba is a Olam Borur. What it says in Dafnun and Psochim, Olam Borur Isi. This world Olam Hafach Isi. In Olam Ha in Gan Eden, the janitor is a Rosh Yeshiva. You can never know. It's Olam Hafach. Okay. What does it mean Olam Borur Olam Hafach? Tzemach Tzedek. Over there is Baruch. Everything is Baruch.
So why is the janitor issue?
Because Nolam has he was a Lamed Vov Tzaddik Nister. Over there is Baruch. So I'm the reason I said janitor Rosh Yeshiva. In our mind, the Lamed Vov Tzaddik Nister are probably
The milkman.
yeah. Lav Dafka doesn't have to be that way, but that's the way it's nitfas. What's the pshat? Tzemach Tzedek says. If when there's a tipa that's creating a child, there's the tipa sa'av and the aim, they come together, and now it's an embryo. It's being it's now at this point there could be the yad and we're learning Rambam exactly. We're learning our Rambam exactly. B'diuk today. So the yad the regel is not nicker, which is the yad and which is the regel. Mashenkein 9 months later. The yad is a yad, and not the regel. The regel is the regel, and not the yad. The emes is today. There's unbelievable advancement in medicine that they could take they could take from certain mekoimis in the goof or certain mekoimis in the blood, certain mekoimis in the marrow, certain mekoimis which are like adova shebe'etzem, like atzmi, and transplant it somewhere else and grow a little more skin or grow a little more flesh, grow a little more bone, v'chulu, 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 v'chulu. That's a nish pashet. Nish pashet. There's nish pashet. They're doing unbelievable things. There's someone here, Shabbos, was nebuch an unbelievable accident many years ago. You see, as a hand, they took from different mekoimis in his goof, because nebuch half his goof was like Nesrasik, and you see, he had like funny, half his hands, a shtickle funny, but he says that this is Nisan Gluim, and yeah, they took from other mekoimis in his goof and they attached it. So, Baruch Hashem, the Eibishter gave us the ability to do that, but in the Moshe, was very hard to make that from one place in the goof should now add to the other place in the goof. Masha'inkein, Lu Yitzuyer, when it was still a tipa, to change that it should be a little from the basar ayad should become the basar regel, from the basar regel. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And even now, if you can go to the etzem, to the DNA of this basar, you could take and bring from the yad to the regel. So the Tzemach Tzedek says, in Gan Eden, it's a olam borur. What's good is good, and what's bad is bad. What's a yad is a yad. What's a regel is a regel. Now you want to change from a yad to a regel? It's not easy. It's new surgery. They do. Mamacht is advancing. Mamacht from a yad a regel and from macht a regel a yad. But it doesn't happen like this. 25 surgeries later, it's a kuptes abisl ve'ayad. But it's not posher to make from the regel a yad. Masha'enkein, when it's a tipa that didn't develop yet, to make a little bit from the b'sar ayat to b'sar regel is no big deal. Because oilam haba is a oilam borur, so over there, everything is borur. Whatever is a yad is a yad. Whatever is a regel is a regel. Whatever is a tzaddik is a tzaddik. Is a rosh is a rosh. Now you want to change. And they change the character of a rosh to make him into a tzaddik. That's a nish gring. It's very hard. It's very, very hard to change, to shake out the rishus of the Rasha and turn him into a tzaddik. And therefore, it's not the pshat as cruelty. The Gehenim is in order to change from the Rasha should become a tzaddik. Oh, he became a tzaddik gomer. Therefore, the Alter Rebbe says that that's a pshat in the Pirush and the Gedomas Haramban to Iyuv, that the Eibishter makes that a tzaddik sometimes should be nitzl from any Yisurim and Gehenim. In order to do that, he has Yisurim Ba'elam Hazah.
Actually, it's not Yisur, it's favor.
Right. So therefore, it looks like Yisurim, but it's a favor. So the Alter Rebbe says different persons b'simcha. So if you look at Iyuv at the end of the story, there's a remarkable thing. It's a very big lesson. The Eibishter turns to Eliphaz, to Eldad, to the three friends of Iyuv, and he says, I'm angry at you, not at Iyuv. Why? He spoke correctly. You didn't speak correctly. What did they say wrong? You didn't identify with his pain. You gave right away, you gave tzirutza. You explained too much. You explained so much about why he got pained, but you didn't understand his pain. You just gave him musad without understanding him. I'm saying pshat, that actually it's a David, so the scene. So I'm saying it's like an unbelievable lesson. L'chayda, all the meforshim are busy in the 30 prokim explaining. Now Rebbe is taking like Domas and Ambana, making a yisoid of this in Perikun Beis. So they were right? But they were wrong. They were right in Indian that when they said that you're complaining against the Eibishter judgment, it looks to you like the Eibishter judgment in the world is wrong. How come good things are happening to bad people and bad things happen to good people? And they have a hezbeh. But the Eibishter said no. So what the Eibishter said, you have to go now and take Shiva Porim, the Shiva Elim, go to Iyuv, and ask Iyuv should daven for you. And that's what they did. Vayelcho alifa zatimoni, balda dashuchi, v'tzoyfer anamosi, vayas kasher, diber aleim Hashem, vayisa Hashem espnei Iyuv. And now that he davened mispal bat chaveroi, he was nana. Hashem shovel shvus Iyov mispal bat re'eyu. V'yosef Hashem es kol sheliv l'mishna. V'yovel of kol echav v'chol achoysa v'chol yodev l'ponim v'yoyich lim lechem. V'yenachmu oisoi. Vayitnu lo ish kesita achas ish nezem zov echad. V'Hashem beirech Iyov mereishisoi. And he had everything double. Everything he got double. Shivasoim bonim. But he still only had 3 daughters. The Welt fragt, and now David gave him double the wealth, double the sons, the same amount of daughters. The Welt fragt Akasha, how come? And the pasuk finishes, Vaychiyu v'achir ezois, me'av arboim shana, v'yirez bonav as b'nei bonav, arbo daughters, v'yomas Iyov zokin u'savei yomer. 140 years. That's it. So now, there's a Yiddish word. How come the Abe should take everything away from you? We don't find that he should kill his wife. So the Welt sagt, no. That's the Welt sagt a shade word. The Welt sagt a shade word. So the end, Abe should gave him double for everything. To have 2 wives, shenishkin greise.
Full service.
Atazoi, the shenishkin greise brachas atzara. So therefore, the Abe didn't want to take away his wife because then he would have to give him double. Anyway, that's the Iyuv is men-based prokim. It's considered a very, very important because this is all. It's all about the mul v'schad. It's all about the justice of the Eibishter, and not the Befrat, according to the Ramban, that this whole story is a mashal. It doesn't matter if it's a mashal or not. I'm saying, but the Iker, it's ein bain. What's the difference between if you hold like the Ramban and the Rambam? The bottom line is that why is it one of the Chavdalat Kisvei Kodesh? Why did the Eibishter? There was one shit that the Eibishter said to Moshe Rabbeinu to write it. Why did the Eibishter say to Moshe Rabbeinu to write it? Because this is a basic thing about the justice of the Eibishter in Olam Hazeh. And no. The Fiyusah. That's one of the shittas. That's a Gemara Daf Yud Zayin and Baba Basra.
Yeah.
Okay, let's read it inside. Why is there a simcha b'yisurei haguf? Lefisha toiv gedola batzom al nefesh achitas, because it's a double ocean. The Rebbe says toiv gedola and toiv atzuma. The Rebbe says kamos and heichus. The nefesh achitas lamar kabel mazeh, to clean it in this world. L'atzilam amirig begehenim, and also in Gehenim, because in Olam Hazeh a person wants to be clean. Why? Because the Gemara says, Rabbi Yechim ben Zakkai said, Hashem Yishmer Tzeitzov V'Yachos, just like he came in the world Belochet, there is a big mile in the Nefesh. The Nefesh wants to leave this world Belochet. So that's number one. The first one is Lamar Kabbalah, and number 2 is Latzila Bamirik Beganenim. The Faber there is saying Elu Shem Bechelos Lasanas Kafi Mispar Kol Atzemesh Tibikune Tshuva Mariza. Hatzrichus Lamirik Nefesh Latzila Miruk Beganenim. Befrat, in this generation, it's very hard for us to fast. All these the things that are the Kuna Tshuva Marizal. So therefore, these Yisurim help out the person. There is in the Rebbe's Yeshimas, Kayodua, the Rebbe was planning to write a Sefer on Tanya. The Rebbe wrote the Yeshimas to himself an outline of a Sefer he's going to write on Tanya, and we spoke about it many times. He wrote a note to himself. He wrote a notebook. That notebook that Rebbe left in his desk for 50 years, he never got to it. But like I said so many times, that the Rebbe had time to answer little children, people that Sheyoim, the Rebbe answered hundreds of letters a day sometimes. But this thing that the Rebbe planned to write, a Sefer and Tanya, it was secondary. Upon him, the Rebbe says, Tzorechim. The Rebbe writes to himself, Tzorechim, without an answer. The Alter Rebbe in Pedek Aleph in Iggeres HaTeshuvah brings from that there's the Sefer Musar, like the Sefer Rekeach, and the Sefer Chasidim, which say a list of how much you have to fast for this, that, and the other. And the Alter Rebbe says that that's not part of Tshuva. They write, you should. So the Alter Rebbe gives 3 pshatim. Then the Alter Rebbe in Pedek Beis says, then he brings from the thing from the Arizal, and then the Alter Rebbe says that no, that this Inyan of fasting is really like a doira. just like a person that brought a doira into the melech. After he said for the melech forgives him, he gives him a doira. So he brings him a gift to smooth everything out. So like the korban oil is a doira.
$400 billion jet.
The $400 billion jet. The macht Sachen glatt. So that's what the Alter Rebbe says. So then the Alter Rebbe goes into this Chachma Musav Machloikus, a person that said that did the chait 10 times, like a certain chait that you have to fast 84 times. If you did it 10 times, you have to fast 10 times 84. One time 84, and the middle shit is 3 times 84. So this was the point, one of the points where that tshuva was the tshuva that I spoke about on Sunday. But the Noida Yehuda was talking to someone who said he was yeshiva bocher and Nebach. He was sleeping with his mother-in-law for 3 years, and then now he got married to the daughter, and now he wanted to do tshuva. And he asked the Noida Yehuda what to do. So the part that
After he did the marriage of the mother, he married the girl.
yeah. So the Noida Yehuda. So first the tshuva is what we spoke Sunday. Should he tell the father-in-law? Should he not tell the father-in-law? If he tells the father-in-law, it should become also to be with him and not also to be with him. And the Yehud is quite machmir. He says, no, I'm mechuyev to tell his father-in-law, and he also has to ask him mechila, because besides what he did against the Eibush that he did against his father-in-law, and that's a minion that he'll be mispayish, that'll be a true friend. And then he says, you asked me for a way tshuva, this is not my thing, whatever. But then he gives him a way tshuva. Cool. But B'Torchat Dvarim he says that there's all these Sifrei Musar, and it's all Svaras Kreisius, or both Svaras. How do you know the Noida Yehuda was thinking in Yiddish and writing in Hebrew? He said the Svaras Kreisius. You know he was thinking in Yiddish. Aboich Svaras. He says, "Kol HaSifrim Ha'ela, B'nuyim Elo Agabe Elu, Kipin Agabe Kipin, Echad Ve'en Loi Mishenes, B'Shas Poiskim." Okay. He says, what's this thing you're telling me that there's 3 times? Why? Because they say if there's a stain, so once, twice, 3 times. If you have a stain the 4th time, that's a shenish machan achila. So therefore, when you have to fast 3 times is the pshara. So he says, what do you mean? Only in the nefesh he made a pagam, and he didn't make a pagam lamayla? Who told him such a thing? Emesis, the Alter Rebbe brings many rayas from the Gemara. That's why the Alter Rebbe is very careful from the rayas and the Gemara from everything. If you notice the Perek Beis, all the things, there's rayas from Gemaras. He doesn't bring any rayas from the Rekeach. Yeah. So Taka the Emesis, you see that the Alter Rebbe was a little concerned that the 3 times is not going to help. So the Rebbe says that the emes it's a little bit of a pella. It's not the Echad out that Rebbe writes that the fasting is only there as a doira. Mitzad Hasheni. That's a doira. Mitzad Hasheni, the Rebbe writes here that if Rabbi Dereseinu Eila she'em b'yachreilus l'sanas kefim mispar kol hatzemes shebetikun tshuva marizal hatzirichus l'mirik hanefesh la'atzila memirik begehenna, that it's to cleanse, that the fasting is not only there as a doiroin, but it's also there to cleanse. The Rebbe says, okay, it sounds like hava ha'isnabe, that the tzomas and the rizal, tzomas from the rekeach, each one has each thing, but tzorichin, like where's the line? So the Rebbe leaves it with a tzorichin. The Rebbe leaves it with a tzorichin.
Against tzomas, actually.
Wow, yeah, that was against tzomas.
On
it from the Lashem to Nishgal, but still, but the Indian.
Stuck out. He's talking that stuck out.
Now we're talking about the Alter Rebbe's talk about stocking. This was the big thing in the Alter Rebbe, right? To be poida with stocking. Right. That's why he's saying more the Chomish. So the emes is like this. That the emes in the kasha from the Rebbe is already a shtickle with teretz. That it's, in other words, it seems that b'chlolus there is 2 nekudas in the fasting. Just like a oil of emes, the oil was mechaper from it, as I say. Alamai, That was Bechlolus. The Frotus, it's a Doira. And remember, we spoke about Shabbos Tshuva.
What?
In general, it's there. A korban oila is machaper for mitzvah saseh, for a missed opportunity mitzvah saseh, but it's also there as a gift to the melech. But that if you remember, we spoke about it Shabbos Tshuva, a long arichas Shabbos Tshuva. But the bottom line was that a oila has two things in it. It's also machaper, but it's also mainly a doira. But the korban chatas, the person that brought a chatas and didn't bring an oila, well, where was the doira? Must say that it has machatas is mainly to be machaber, also as a doira. It's mainly as a doira, also to be machaber. And the fasting of the tikkun tshuva, mainly according to the Alter Rebbe, it's in order to be a doira, and therefore 3 times is good enough. But also there is a miru kanefesh. It also a little bit cleanses the person, and therefore the Alter Rebbe is choishish. Tzedakah has to cleanse you. So why would you say 3 times? Maybe you'd need if you did that 8 or 10 times, you need to do it 10 times. And therefore the Alter Rebbe says you should give a lot of tzedakah. That's what the Alter Rebbe's answer is, that you should give a lot of tzedakah. Back here in Perikut Beis, the Alter Rebbe says when a person sees he has a lot of Yisurim, he knows that the Eibishter is cleansing him. Al Iyuv, the Pirush Iyuv, the Ramban has Agdama to Sefer Iyuv. Shafil Yisurim Shal Iyuv Shivim Shana Ein Lam Erech Klal Yisura Nefesh Achad Begehenim Ki Eish Echad Meshishim. In Gehenim, there's 2 problems. It's not Yisura Guf, it's Yisura Nefesh, and also the fire is much stronger. Ela Lefi She'elam Hazeh Chesed Yibonah Yisurim Kalam B'elam Hazeh Nid Nitzel Medinim Koshim Shel Elam Abod Kemoshel Hiluch Vatokas Atzel Bo Oretz Tefach Lefi Hiluch Galgol Hashemesh Berekia Alof Emilim Chulu. When the person looks at the sundial and it looks like the shadow moved 1 inch, in heaven the sun moved Alfei Milim. So the same thing. Yeser al kain lein kate so benimshel bepchinas shtalshel so eno so mal so dem mazagashmi. That when a person does a small thing in this world, a little inyan of tshuva ma'asim tovim is unbelievable. Kidum asher kosav bezeir hakodesh minyan alis oilmas hayonim beserus telatata bakrovas oif echad ben yoino etoral gamam mizbeach hakemitz mincha v'cheinu v'cholam mitzvahs maisis kenoide ma'arizal. That when a person brought 1 oif, 1 little yoina, 1 toy on the mizbech was done properly, 1 kaimetz mincha, which is a handful of. So all the oilamas had an aliyah, and every mitzvah's mice is the same thing. Like that, Harizal explained that every mitzvah has a shaykhs in all the oilamas. Like we say in the Yehidotz that we will say tonight by Svidus Omer, Yushpa Shefarav b'chol oilamas. That through the mitzvah we do, there's a shefa b'chol oilamas. The Gemara says, "Odem mekadosh atzmei ma'at lamata, mekadshene sahar balamayla." The Rebbe points out in this page everything is kamas ve'eches. It's ma'at lamata, and liidach mekadshene say harbe, and it's malamayla. Harbe is kamas, and lamayla is eichus. So in this world, a person is zoichet to be mamshach to his mitzvahs, not memala kolamen, but zoiv kolamen. Shenking Gan Eden, it's memala kolamen. Like that Tzemach Tzedek explains, Gan Eden must be memala kolamen. Because if you want a ziva shchina, it has to be understood. Shenking elam haza, the amshach to the mitzvah, there's a besonim, we don't get it in the pneumius. But there's a maila that we're mamshach, unbelievable zoiv kolamen. Bekocha mamish, just like it is in the union of mitzvahs, that the mitzvah and the schar of the mitzvah are not so different. Which is in Perek Lamed Zayin and Tanya.
The mitzvah itself.
And the Alter Rebbe says mitzvah mitzvah neder mahusa, that because the mitzvah and the schar mitzvah are not 2 separate things; they're 1 thing. So, just like we see that the mitzvah Olam Haba has a maila that then you get from the Torah you learn in this world, the mitzvah in this world, you see the ziv of it. But that's only the b'chinas mamala kalamen, small bit. Shenken by Olam Haza, it's the ganze Zach. So same thing when it comes to Gavis Char V'Oinish. When a person gets a little bit of Yisurim Kalam B'Olam Hazeh, that makes sure that it should be Machaper from Yisurim Kosher B'Olam Haba. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe is adding in Perek Yud Beis that this helps out the person. So this adds to what we were saying last week. Chatosin Negdi Tomid is in one pocket, and the other pocket is Ividus Hashem B'Simcha. That Mitzad Echad has to be Ividus Hashem B'Simcha. Mitzad Hasheni we say has to be Chatosin Negdi Tomid. How could that be? So the answer is the Adarab. It helps a person being B'Simcha because if it's Chatosin Negdi Tomid, he's humble. And B, Fakert will help him L'Kabuli B'Simcha. And this, L'Kabuli B'Simcha is a big yisoid. Like there's a story that the Rabbeim tell about that this is really what brought the G'dolet Talmidei HaMagid. Story of Shmelke and the Pinchas, the Balaflo, Balmakna, that they came to the Magid because they heard about the Bashem and the Magid. They saw he was a tzaddik. They didn't want to stay. It wasn't for them. So they went to say goodbye to Gezegenen. And they asked the Shaila, how could it be that a person is l'kabula b'simcha? The Gemara says it's to be l'kabula k'shem varchim l'atayr. How can you l'kabula b'simcha? How can you l'kabul b'surim b'simcha? So the Maggid said, you know what, on the way out, you'll pass the Beis Medrash, Reb Zusha is sitting there, and ask Reb Zusha, he should give you the pshat. So they came to Reb Zusha, and they asked him the pshat, and Reb Zusha said, I don't understand the k'shayla. I don't know the answer. Reb Zusha, they said, was a big Bal Yisurim. Yisurei Iyuv, he had a lot of Yisurim. So he said, I don't know the pshat because to me, the Rebbeinu Shalom does only good. So the Mela, I can't tell you the pshat. And when they heard that, they decided they want to stay by the Maggid.
The tummy is like that.
They saw that it works. Whatever it is, they saw it works. It works. To him, it wasn't only, there was no Yisurim, but it was only Simcha. So Amela, they stayed and they became Talmid Magid, Keyodua. They were considered from the first and the oldest, the most Choshim Talmidim of the Magid. And this thing is for a Noven that it's Nokel, Maskal al Dov Yim Tzatoiv. There's a whole sefer from the Rebbe about this. Why the Alter Rebbe finishes? Maskal al Dov, a person that wants to understand this Indian and thinks about it, Boimek, Yim Tzatoiv, will find a lot of Toiv in this. And
so it's a steer because from here you see it's very easy to do tshuva because there's it's a kalati b'chamur. You never know. So,
yeah,
what?
So that's what the end. He said it's supposed to be easy. Iggeres HaTeshuvah said the whole Tanya. By the way, this is the Rebbe says the Rebbe says the Alter Rebbe wrote 3 chalokim to Tanya. So Iggeres HaKodesh was lachet p'tirose. He wrote as a kontzachon to himself, kilu. So therefore, he finishes Dasal Novanokal Maskal Dovim Tzatoiv. It's sort of a Siyum on Tanya. The Rebbe has a lot about this, and we'll talk later maybe Shabbos. But just to point out that the Rebbe says the word is that the Koyach Hadas is very important, and in order to Avodas Hashem should become not easy, especially the Nova. Nova means a person that wants to understand something in a way of Bina. He wants to understand it well. Chochma sometimes good nekuda. If you want to understand it well, Alter Rebbe says, in order to make it easy, you have to work with Midas Hadas. If you're going to work with Midas Hadas, and you're going to be Maskel al Dover, then it will become Nokal, and then it will be Yim Tzatoiv. Maybe shall helfen that we're going into the Chag HaShavuos, that for every one of us, we should be Zeichel the Makabel the Torah in the way of Nokal and Yim Tzatoiv.
Amen. Well, what are we doing next?
Oh, I don't know. If that's Oilam, what Oilam wants to do next. What do you want to do next?
Rabbi, good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, ki shekoyach, kavolas ha-toyre, besimcha bepnimius.
Amen.